Hello, welcome, we're here. I just saw myself pop in over there. Hi, I haven't been here on a Tuesday in a while, especially after also doing a Monday. You'll remember yesterday I said if the tuna was a complete disaster because it was sealed in and I had no idea, I had no way to check on it until I actually pulled it out and cut it open. If the tuna was a disaster, I had a backup plan. Well, the backup plan can't wait either. It has to be used. So we're going to use the backup plan today. And the backup plan is a rather thin little piece of sirloin strip that I salted, and it had a lid on it. It had a lid on it. So I salted both sides and I just left it in the fridge for the salt to gently brine the surface. We're going to, once just like the tuna, we're going to cook that toward the end. And until then, I'm going to have it sit and come up to room temp so that it's not going in the pan fridge cold. And also so the surface can dry off a little bit. Yeah, so we will just pick up the grating and put it over here by the sink. So it's nice and protected. And I will deal with the drippy pan a little bit later. So of course that doesn't take very long. Piece of meat doesn't take very long. We need accompaniments, and this time the accompaniments are where I'm going to have fun. I planned this one out. I was thinking about it in advance, and I planned this one out. We're not just going to waffle around until we come up with something this time. Because I found things in the discount bin. Parsnips, some of which are a little bit gnarly, but for the most part look pretty good. And this one's still tied shut. I haven't even taken a peek at it. I just got it home. Kale. Which looks pretty green through the side of the plastic. But let's find out once we get in. Oh, why is this knotted up? Yeah, kale. So, a couple little yellow spots, but for the most part, looks just like slightly wilty, which is fine. I don't care about it being super crisp. I got a ton of kale. I guess we're gonna do some kale recipes, because I shouldn't need more than that for what I'm gonna do with it today. Selena, welcome, welcome. You're first. Amazing. Someone's first at the beginning for a change. So we have kale. We have parsnip. Some of these are looking a little gnarly. I should be able to get away with just the 2 parsnips, I think. Actually first, amazing. No, you're always first. I'm worried that the big one might have a woody core, too much of a woody core. Parsnips, really big parsnips, get this hard, inedible thing in the middle. You can even see it on the end there. So we'd end up actually losing quite a bit of that one, I think. We can cut into it and see what it looks like. So our vegetables are going to take most of our time today, and then we will do the steak at the end. I have a vision of a plating, and I think I'm going to screw it up. Yesterday's plating was beautiful, but it happened organically. I didn't plan it out. I just kind of started putting stuff together and made it look good. This time I have a plan, which means I'm going to screw it up. So, step 1. Trim up those parsnips, see what they look like on the inside, get rid of any sort of woody core. Yesterday's dish was great, and today, I had a backup plan. So I mentioned already at the start, but I don't think anyone is here yet. Um, wow, that really came off weird. The tuna had been in a vacuum seal with some alcohols, and I wasn't sure what it was going to do, so I was afraid it might be completely ruined. And I did that because it was slightly old on the day I got it, and I wasn't going to be able to use it that day. And I know alcohols can help sort of mitigate that fishiness of older fish. So I had a backup plan just in case it went completely sour on me. But we didn't need it because everything went great. However, the backup plan is also a piece of meat that also can't wait. So I was going to eat it today regardless, and it was just a decision of whether or not I was going to do it with you guys or just do it on my own and post pictures. And I have decided that we're doing it with you guys. And it was kind of a last minute decision. So I was running around just a few minutes ago, just a few minutes before I started. Fairly critical. Hi. Yes, enough alcohol can mitigate anything. And isosceles is here. These parsnips look good on the inside. They're just a little bit gnarly on the outside, which is a good sign that I will have a nice amount of parsnip to work with. I like parsnip, but I don't eat it often. If you're a fan of Stardew Valley, you no doubt are aware of parsnip. They're very easy to grow. In real life as well. But they're not nearly as popular as like other roots. I think they were more popular prior to the invention of the potato. Okay, we are going to find out what these guys look like on the inside, because I think if I cut you and I cut you and I cut you, that little core, maybe not. Can you boil the core of a turnip parsnip? Do you have to for a parsnip? How to core a parsnip? The cores don't look so bad at the bottoms, so we might just go for where they widen out and try to dig it out of there. And the easiest way to pull a core out of something straight like this is to just get a smaller knife. Just kind of do one of those. And then you only lost that much from the first piece. I think we're going to use that big one just because I want to see how bad the core is on the really big one. This one I cut weirdly. I also want to cut that big one because I think I need more parsnip than I'm going to end up with by just about the amount I think I'm going to get out of that big one. So that's another reason. This is probably the real reason parsnips are less popular than they once were. They're not as easy to use as a potato or a carrot or even a turnip. Because of that little core. Do I want to do this? Not really. Concentrating so I don't slip and cut my finger off with this razor sharp knife, which actually probably could stand to be a little bit sharper, so I would have to press quite so hard. I missed the connect. There you go. Okay. So they're a little fussy. How much do we end up with? And then we just kind of chunk up what's left. So cleanup yesterday was a lot easier than I often have, which is another reason I decided to soldier forth with today, because I didn't have to struggle to clean up that. I managed to get everything cleaned up yesterday before the evening, which doesn't always happen. What do we think? A little bit more? I think a little bit more, and I think actually this big one is not going to be used because I only want a little bit more. So let's try this one. See what we're working with. Oh, I should have peeled you. Do that real fast. Oh, you know what I never asked yesterday? What are you having for dinner? I got so caught up in making the thing, I forgot to be all personable. What's your favorite way to prepare a parsnip? Everyone's got one. Nobody? No parsnips? Never had a parsnip? That's okay. We can't all be perfect. Okay. I think that's enough for what I want to do. Let's get some cold water on them. Put them on the stovetop. Generous pinch of salt. They are floating in a way that potatoes do not. Let's get that stirred around, make sure the salt isn't resting on the top of them. We're going to boil them until they're mostly soft. Let's see, we need another pot because we need to blanch some kale. We can honestly probably use that pot to blanch some kale after I fish those out of there, because we're not going to need to drain the water, I don't think. Let's slide back over. And open up our, apparently this is organic kale, according to the twist tie here, which is probably why it didn't sell, because they charge more for it, and it's the same thing. Okay, just gonna I'm just going to pull these away. I think that's going to be the easiest way to get these off of here. Leafy greens, we're going to blanch them, we're going to puree them. So they're going to shrink up a ton. I don't really have a use for the stems this time around, so I think we're just discarding the stems. You can eat kale stems, but you have to cook them because they're tough. There's nothing toxic about them, they're just really tough. gnarly bits. And I don't like that chunk of yellow on the tip there. Okay. So, stems away. Oh, hey. Well, that's why we're going to blanch them. There's a friend. Hi, friend. Bye, friend. Okay. Yes, fresh vegetables sometimes have hitchhikers. It's a thing. It's not going to kill you. It's why you wash stuff, and it's why we cook and blanch and all sorts of other processes. Sesame seeds on the floor there. From that sesame seed explosion yesterday. What else do we want? This wants some garlic. We also need some garlic for the meat. And some garlic for the parsnips. I think everybody's getting some garlic. Let's quickly peel. Bookwoman, hi. Yes, I am indeed back again. Yes, we're back. Back again. We have to make use of the backup plan that we didn't use yesterday because it's going to go. And I decided, since the cleanup was pretty easy, we're just going to go for it today. Today's cleanup might be harder. I guess we'll find out as I go. Okay, some garlic is thrown in with the parsnips. It will soften up and get incorporated when we deal with them later. Then we need some for the kale. Which we need to crush and mince. And then put in a little dish. We're letting it develop some flavor before we need it. And then we need some for the meat, which is going to be crushed and thrown in the pan. think we're going to just use one for that, honestly. But we'll get it peeled now since I have the peeler out. And then I think what we're just going to do is crush it, toss it in the pan when we do the meat. Oil, butter, some Taters, okay, yeah. Reading through things, making sure I'm not losing the plot. Let's plunk the extra parsnips back in there. Get out some parsley. Parsley and parsnip sound similar, not from coincidence, but because they are in fact related to each other. There's a fun fact for you. Okay, so we are over here boiling our parsnip. We're going to want some cream for that. I've already got the butter out. I want to use the powdered milk. Possibly good idea. So this has just come to a boil. The pieces here are pretty small, but parsnip is a little sturdier than potato, so it's gonna take a bit. I believe they moved it again, so take your time and hunt around. I've noticed that they've made a couple changes in a row in multiple places recently. I think they're working on formatting and stuff and such. Ooh. Smell of the parsnip permeating the room. It's not my most favorite smell. I'll say that. Oh, a moisten. Can do. Gotta fill up my water. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Well, let me know if you find it, and then let everyone know where they moved it to. I don't have Prime, so I can't ever check up on it. Okay. I got out the parsley because I want to include some parsley with my parsnip and with the kale, but only a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't include it with the parsnip. Maybe I should only include it with the kale. We're going to be blending the kale as well. So that's going to want some olive oil. I've got a reference up for kale puree by April Bloomfield's Kale Puree by Gabrielle Langholtz on Edible Manhattan. That's a mouthful. I do not have one for the parsnip puree, which might be a mistake. Oh, by the way, we're pureeing both of these. That's the idea. I didn't mention that. That's what we're doing with these guys. Parsnip puree wanted me to add a bunch of parsnip water. Parsnip puree. Big stupid article leading up to a recipe at the bottom. Parsnip, milk, butter, salt, pepper. Real basic. I don't want a ton of it, so we're using just the 3 parsnips. This recipe is for 2 pounds of parsnips, which is a lot of parsnips. We're not doing that. We are going to use this guy, the new and improved ricer, in an attempt to get a very smooth. We're gonna overcook these a little bit so they're extra soft, and then we're gonna throw them through the ricer to get them extra smooth. We're gonna use that water over there that's currently boiling to quickly blanch our kale. Fish that back out, introduce it to our blender, which I'm going to get out now. Turns out this blender is better than I thought it was, in that it has an auto clean, which makes it way easier to clean than I have been treating it. I always disassemble the whole thing and scrub it down, but it is not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to put soap in it and run it on the clean setting, and it cleans itself, as long as you don't have like caked on gunk. Okay. Bro hits. Hi. Welcome, welcome. Welcome in to the party. We're just getting ramped up at the moment. Although I don't feel like this is going to be a really long one today. I just get the impression what's cooking. Boy, I haven't done one on a Tuesday in a while, and everyone's piling in. We're just at the stage of getting these parsnip chunks tender? They're pretty good. I do want to do them over a little bit because they'll be easier to push through the ricer. But they're doing pretty good, honestly. You should be able to pull them in a sec, throw the kale in, let them cool off just a little bit before I rice them so I don't burn my hands. I'm going to throw, no, I'm not going to throw that in right away. I want the kale to be at the bottom. I want things to rest on top of the kale in the blender. But we do need some oil in our blender. Because a wet kale. You could probably just blend the kale. I've done that to make a quick this is also, yeah, this is a blanched. I've done a quick kale pesto just by chucking raw kale in the blender with some oil and some cheese and some nuts and hitting it until it turns into a sauce. Let's see if I can find the biggest chunk. These are pretty small chunks, so none of them are really huge, but find the biggest chunk and see. That's pretty good. I'm going to call them good. Bring my water down just a little bit. There'll be a little bit of carryover while they sit here hot. Anyways, so we don't have to be in a rush. We're going to throw our kale in. Let's use this. Push it down. We want them to be bright green and not go over. Kale's a little bit durable as leafy greens go, so it can take a little bit of simmering before it starts to break down. Spinach would just turn to mush immediately. Something smells funny, almost like, oh God, I hope there wasn't a residual soap in that pan. It almost smells like there was a residual soap in that pan. And that would suck, because we would be starting over. Maybe I should taste one of these parsnip pieces to see if they are funky. I don't think so. Okay, let's get that off. Now I'm questioning my own taste. Let me taste this water real quick before I commit. I don't think so. I think it's just, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what I'm picking up on. Maybe I'm just picking up on old parsnip. Okay, we're gonna take our blanched kale. Deposit it in the carafe of our blender. Drain off a little of the excess juice here so I can get a better hold of the stuff, although I don't know why I'm doing that. I have the slotted spoon ready to go. Because we don't want all this water. Especially since there's some grit in there. Because I didn't pre-wash any of my things. I just trusted that they would get washed when I put them in water. Okay. Lid on. Okay, that's going to need just to have all this stuff put in it. And one of that stuff is some oil, or we're never going to get the top to come down on it. And some salt. And some pepper. My pepper grinder keeps trying to let go. I think it might be time for a new one. Okay, we need to push that down and add more liquid, I think. Maybe okay, definitely more liquid. Hope I'm not damaging the bottom of this thing. You can hear it slip every once in a while when I rock it. Yeah, it's cavitating, and the top part is not descending into the blade the way it's supposed to. Come on, guy. I know you can do this. We've done it before. Maybe I added too much at once. Maybe I added too much at once and I gotta add it a bit at a time. Pulling some of the top bits off, adding a little bit more oil. It's just, not juicy enough. It's not juicy enough. Now it's juicy enough. Now it's juicy enough. We just had to go in with some more liquid. Okay. It still wants to ride up in a really annoying way. God, I hope this isn't horrifically loud. So I just dunked in some heavy cream, which I had handy for the parsnips, although it might not end up in the parsnips. I think it just wants a little bit of water, honestly. It just needs some... It just needs some lubrication, some juice. Here. You guys cannot see what's happening, of course, because we are just running the top of a blender. But if I pop this off, I think we can get a view, because it doesn't look like it's spitting too badly. That's the problem. You see where when it spins, you can see the blade for a sec? It's cavitating in a really problematic way. But if I make it any juicier, we're not going to have a puree, we're going to have a soup. And that is what I'm currently dealing with. We also need to add some parsley for flavor and color. You know, more green. What to do if your puree is... What I want to do is run the blender on a lower speed, but that's the lowest speed it's willing to give me. Unless I set it to on the clean button. There it goes. There it goes. There it goes. That's what I've been looking for. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I managed to get it to bite on. There's quite a bit of olive oil in there. I kept adding more because it kept needing more juice. But that's what I was trying to get it to do. So it wouldn't go in, because it kept doing like little fits because it was cavitating at the bottom. And then the goo was collapsing in. Oh my God. My mammy. Hi, welcome, welcome. We just had a little bit of a struggle getting this stuff to, wow, ooh, we're running a little bit hot too. Hi, welcome, welcome. What were you doing? Let me give you the old shouteroo. Get you spelled right there. Welcome to, I don't have a name for the channel, Jovial Jovian. Hi, that's me. We are doing a follow-up to yesterday's thing. Oh my God, your first cooking stream. Amazing. You made cookies. Well, that's great. People always compliment me on my setup, and I don't. I guess it's good. So thanks. You should see it from my perspective. It's a mess. But it's a mess behind the camera. We are doing a follow-up to my stream yesterday. I don't normally do 2 in a row because there's a lot of cleanup. But I had a backup plan on deck yesterday for just in case my thing went horribly wrong and I didn't need it. So we're using the backup plan today. And we're making 2 over here. We just had a struggle, and it's a little bit loose, I think. I don't know how to thicken it at this point. It's just going to be loose. We just made a kale puree. We're going to make a parsnip puree mash thing to accompany our steak. I've got a piece of steak. That's going to be our main event. Steak doesn't take very long, so we are doing complex accoutrements, delightful accompaniments. We've already boiled the parsnip, and now we've blended the kale. I was hoping it would be a little bit thicker than that, but I couldn't get it to the blade to bite onto it without adding a bunch more liquid. So it's a little soupy. Not too bad. We should definitely taste it. Oh, interesting. Spicy. So what we're making was a long explanation, half of which was the reason I'm making it rather than what I'm making. But what we are making, I'll go get it. So it's sitting over here waiting for me. Our main event is this steak. But steak does not take very long to cook. So just doing a steak would be a very short, boring stream. So to accompany my steak, I am making 2 purees. We have a kale puree. I blanched some kale and blended it with garlic, olive oil, salt, pepper, and some cream. And you're new here, but the thing that I always am saying is, oh, I got this out of the discount bin. And in fact, I got the kale, the parsnips, and the steak all out of discount bins. So that steak was 40% off. The kale, we used one bunch of kale. I have this much kale, and I don't know if you can see that little tag says it was $1. We hunt around for the good deals. So yeah, it is a nice steak. You'll find a lot of really bad ones in the discount bin. You got to go back and you got to sort of trust that you're going to find a lot of duds before you find a winner. That's good. I don't really want it by itself, but I think it'll go really well on our plate, both for color and for flavor. Because it's like, it's herby and it's a little bit peppery. I'm tempted to put some cheese. I'm tempted to get the blender back out and blend a little bit of a sharp cheese into it, but I think I might just grate it and stir it instead. So that can wait. We need to do the parsnip. The parsnips were also in the discount bin. I don't exclusively do cooking streams, but you'd be forgiven for not knowing that because I so rarely do anything else that people forget that I do anything else. The other thing that I've done more than one times was Legos. Yes, I suspect I might not get all the way through all of that kale, but it's fine because it was $1 for that whole bag. I want to do Legos too. Legos turns out expensive. Ooh, ooh, these are tougher than these are tougher than potatoes. Oh, jeez. Okay, well that's learning experience. We're gonna get out a separate bowl and try to leverage this a little bit. If these were just potatoes, no, I want them real smooth. And the blender's been used. We're taking some of them out. I think I just overloaded it. They're tougher than potatoes for sure. But with less in there, I should be able to force them out. Whew. Maybe. We don't use parsnips a lot, so I'm not real familiar with them. And I guess that they are not just like long, skinny potatoes. Thank you for bringing your peeps by and have fun lurking. I understand. I also tend to raid and immediately lurk. This should be blended. This stuff should be blended, clearly. We're going to try Bookwoman's suggestion and go in for a mash. They're a little more fibrous than I was expecting. And that's what I think is tripping me up. I don't want to bend my ricer out of shape by leaning my full weight into it. So we're going to try pre-mashing them a little bit with the old-fashioned masher. Actually, I have a backup. I have a second blender. I've got this, the immersion blender. Yeah, I don't think that's working. I think I just got the masher. It didn't feel like it was doing much. Where's my immersion blender? But I have an immersion blender. Which has this little thing as an attachment. Because I think what I need is a high-speed blade. So I could use either one of these. I think we are going to use the old-fashioned carafe and standard blade. Okay. So I assumed, clearly incorrectly, that this would be as simple as doing potatoes. DK! Hello. Welcome. We are on to our second struggle of the eve already. Although this one I think I've got a pretty good solution. Both of them blender struggles. We were going to add some cream to this anyways. So we'll just go ahead and do that now. But welcome. It's using backups from yesterday time. What else was going to go in there? There's already garlic in there. It was cooked in salt, but I'll give it a pinch of salt. The plating was great yesterday. I just kind of... it came to me while I was doing it. Today I have a plan, which means I'm going to mess it up. Okay, that is too thick. Opposite of the previous problem. That one's my fault, because the one parsnip puree reference I looked up said, save the liquid from boiling them, because you're going to need to add some liquid when you try to puree them. So a sticky bunch. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell the Raiders to join Discord. I wish I had just some milk. Like some just standard milk. I had some, but I opened it up, and then I didn't have any because it was very stink. Ryuya, hi. What we are making at the very instant you ask is parsnip puree to go with the kale puree. And the parsnip puree is just a bit too thick. Both of which are going to be accompaniments for our steak. Because we're making a steak. That's the meat. My title says meat and taters. We have no taters. I was assuming parsnips would behave as an approximation of a potato, but they super do not. Let's taste that. Mmm. Mmm. It's very creamy, which I should expect. A little bit of parsnip in there. I think it could actually use a pinch more salt. And I'm going to use something we never use, which is white pepper. Just heard a noise from the front, so what was that noise? Dunno. Doesn't seem like it was anything important, so I guess I'll ignore it. I don't think I've ever had parsnip puree. When I had the parsnips, it was the thing that occurred to me. So it's the thing we're attempting. I've had parsnips, but the puree is news to me. We could put some cayenne. I don't think I'm going to want a kick in here, though. And I don't want to spoil the color, because it's very much a nice sort of even beige right now. Plus, the kale is already more on the peppery side of things. Still feels like it's too thick. What do you think? It's very creamy in flavor. I think if I'd used milk instead of heavy cream, it would be perfect, but I didn't have any milk. And I tried cutting it with some water. See, I think yogurt is too thick. I think I need something that's really, really liquidy. But it might be good enough. If I compare it to the thickness, because I want these two, however they end up, I want the two of these guys to be approximately the same. See, the kale has sort of firmed up a bit as it's been sitting here. See, I want them to be around the same because I want them to be on the plate together. Okay, I think we're going to call those guys good enough. I think I've got a bunch more parsnips and a bunch more kale. So I could just run experiments on these two things until I get them the way I think there should be. Not today, not here with you, but it's a thing I could do. But let's slide on over and get our pan heating up. Get our neutral oil ready. And get our piece of meat on deck. It's been sitting over the sink in this grating, just so it's not completely fridge cold when it goes in. Give our garlic clove a little crush. And a little mince, a little slice. Okay. Because I'm also envisioning a drippings sauce being used here. We're also practicing steak, which is one of those things that I need to practice. If you do that, let me know. They're definitely more fibrous than a potato. There's no getting around that. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially for something like that where you want more like some structure. You don't want it to be just like mashed potato. I did say I was going to put a little bit of cheese in the kale, and then I didn't do that. So let me just do that real quick. Parsnips are one of those things I see a lot and think, oh yeah, I'll get some parsnips, and then I don't. And the reason we're using them now is because, as always, discount bin. Same thing with the kale, same thing with the steak, same thing with the tuna, actually, which was I'm still flabbergasted that was discount bin tuna, because that was one of the most beautiful pieces of fish I've ever worked with, just full stop. Not even best from the discount bin, just best overall. It was such a great piece of fish. I think our kale has thickened up to the point where it's somewhat similar to our parsnip. Okay, we want this to be actual proper hot. Oh, hungry today too. I had a very light lunch. I'm trying to rein in my wild eating. Which is hard to do for the show, because who wants to watch me make boring little nothing foods? So I gotta control other parts around. But it means I'm hungry. So I'll probably end up overeating today. We're making this a very basic thing. Peppercorn cream, butter, garlic. So we're just waiting for this to get hot. And I actually have a glass of water. I don't have to. We did this yesterday with the tuna as well. Take a drip of water. That one skittered around a little bit, so I'm going to call that good. What we're looking for is for the droplets to not just sit and steam away, but to like skitter around a little bit, because it means that the surface is hot enough that they are getting pushed up by the boiling. And then we just take this meat and we just put it there. And you get that sizzle. Wash my hand real quick. Okay, well, we're committed to this now. Thing away. Put all these things in the sink. Okay. So what's everyone else having for dinner? Or what did you have for dinner if you had something fancy perhaps a day ago? We're definitely not doing another one right away tomorrow. I may have over-oiled that pan a little bit, so we'll kind of keep the meat on the upper side where it's a little bit less oily. And I'm not afraid to flip it back. We'll also want to render off this cap a little bit. Yeah, okay. I also figure I should come back and do maybe 2 in a row because I was gone for so long. It'd be a good sort of make up the difference and pile back in. Oh, thank you for the follows. I didn't even notice from the raid. Thank you so much. Also, I should follow Mammy before I forget. I need to get a raid alert that actually makes a noise. Okay, let's check on the other side again. Get that fat cap rendered down a little bit. Maybe I do want it in the oil a little bit more. Help build some surface crust. Okay, I've already selected the plate for today. It is the black circle. The black circle today. So we're just shooting this until we get a good crust. I think we're gonna skip doing a pan sauce because I put a little bit too much oil in that pan. So I'd have to like get rid of the excess oil before I built the pan sauce. Which sounds fussy. The golf ball plate. Yeah, this one. Ooh. Okay. I'm not sure what doneness I'm looking for. Just nebulously done. I know basting. I've done basting in the past and had an okay time with it. I have the garlic ready. I just think there's too much oil in the pan. And I don't really have a plate. Well, okay, I do. Okay, you're right. We're hopefully not gonna shock our steel pot too hard. But we're gonna drain off some of that oil. We're gonna hit it with some butter. Some garlic, and it's not going to be in there too much longer at this stage, so... And I'm doing it backwards for some reason. Because it should really be on the other side. Get those garlic pieces up out of the pan so they don't burn too badly. I don't want to overdo the steak, though, so that is where I'm calling it. Get those burnt garlic bits off the top. Put that guy there, and then we can just... No, nothing broke. Put the lid back over the top that it originally had. Nope, it's not quite tall enough. It is, I'll put it that way. That pan. Don't freak out. Not a huge staker of steaks, so I'm just being weird and experimenting now. So no, I didn't use cornstarch. I used a little bit of cream. Cream is also a thickener. And the first thing that went in there was some white wine. Heavy cream is a cheat. You'll see it in like a mac and cheese recipe that doesn't use a roux because it will also act as a thickener. But it has some other different properties. It will split if you try to add it to an acid. And it has a bit more water in it. And it's very foamy right now. The heat's off on that. I turned the heat off when I did that. Okay, so we're gonna let that sort of settle into itself. Whew. Hopefully I didn't overdo the steak. We had such a beautiful piece of tuna yesterday. It would be a shame if I now overdid the steak. We're going to leave the sauce to rest in the pan a little bit, hopefully thicken up, and we're going to decorate our plate with our purees, and I'm going to attempt our parsnip is a little on the lumpy side. The parsnip one is a little on the lumpy side. The kale one has firmed up like I was hoping it would. What do you think? Too much? Too fussy? Fill in the schmear a little bit. Well, that's what we did. I don't know if it was a good idea, but that's what we did with it. These purees are tasty. What do you think? What do you think? Here's our steak. Both sides look pretty good. This side I think looks a little bit better. And we need a sharp. Now this isn't very long or very wide this way, so I don't need a super long knife, but I need a sharp knife. I think my long slicer might actually be one of my sharpest knives. So we will hone it up real quick. And find out what the inside of this steak looks like. Ooh. Well, there you go. It looks a little rare on the inside, honestly. We probably could have left it on for just a little bit longer and shot for that medium rare. But I'm not going to complain. Mm. We shouldn't slice the whole thing. TK is excited. Well, I've got the meat in there. I hate the plating. These blobs are way too big. It fit, yeah, I fit in that space, but these blobs look so silly with that piece of meat. I should have just done this as like a normal thing. I don't usually go for rare, but I'm willing to give it a go. These huge expanses of stuff. No. I think the plating might let it down a little bit. We'll take a picture, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to taste it. And we're going to eat the rare, see what it do. Okay. Okay. I guess. Oh, the sauce! I legitimately completely forgot that I had a sauce. Ooh, that pan is still hot. Uh, the cream did, in fact, curdle a little bit, so the sauce doesn't look as I wanted it to. But okay, I gotta take this back, so we've got to do that photo again, but with the sauce. I don't know. I'm sure everything's gonna taste good, but it doesn't look. I told you, I had a thing in my head today. And because of that, it wasn't going to come out beautifully plated like yesterday when I was just completely winging it. Okay. That means tasting time. And I'm not going to shy away. We're going to go for the endmost one here, right in the center, the rarest piece. See how it do. I definitely prefer it a little bit more toward the medium. Not gonna lie, rare steak, not exactly my thing. That said, it's pretty good. Probably could have spent a little bit more time on that fat side, because that's a little bit chewy, but not too bad. And overall, a good beefy flavor. The garlic butter gives it a lot more dimension. The thing is, I think rare steak has less flavor than when you start to get it towards a medium. I don't want to dry it out, but I think that you gotta get those proteins a little bit heated up. So I might, you know what I might do? I might take these slices, fire that pan up real hot, and just kiss them on the heat real quick to get that surface, give that surface a little bit more. It's a little rare for my taste. Could have spent more time basting. Would have had better flavor as well. Um, let's taste our parsnip. Which has gotten cold in the meantime, which isn't bad now that it's next to a hot steak. It tastes like parsnip, which is sort of a mild carroty flavor, but not sweet like a carrot. And this in particular is very creamy and very lightly salted, which is good because there's a lot of salt in that sauce I just slapped down the middle of it. There's not a ton to say about it, but it's a good accompaniment to something like this. The kale, on the other hand, I already tasted it a couple of times. The kale is intensely kale, herbaceous. The garlic that went in the kale was raw, and it was at no point cooked after I put it in there. So it's got that sharp, raw garlic bite coming through it. It's also creamy, but in a different way. And actually, it could use a little fresh pep, I think. Well, let's try a bit of both of them and the end piece of the steak, which is going to be the piece most mediumed. It just needs like another minute on the heat, I think. Because that end piece, and actually this next one up looks good too. That's what I'm looking for. This is a little under for me. This is more what I'm looking for. And the end where it's skinnier did get that. Yes. So yeah, we're gonna use. Probably gonna eat the first several slices. The middle, I think I just want to slap back on the heat and make it, just give it a little bit more heat. It doesn't need much. We definitely don't want to dry it out. It really wants to be just something blazing hot that is only on there for a moment, because it's already mostly cooked. Rare is not raw. It's not raw, but it's under where I want it. I'm not a big steak guy in general. I find steaks to be a little too expensive and often not amazingly great. This one was in the discount, and it was a nice looking piece, so I decided to go for it. And also I needed the backup for the tuna just in case the tuna didn't work out. But it did, so now we're here. So I got to sort of play with this in a slightly different way. You know, I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm a little disappointed. Mostly because the steak is a little underwhelming. I really like the sauce, which, gosh, we cut away, so you didn't get to see it, but look at this stuff. It completely split. It did not hold together as a creamy sauce. It completely split in the pan here. That's not great. Tastes really good though. The flavor on that worked, and I think the flavor of the sauce helps the fact that the underdone steak is a little bit underwhelming for my palate. So yeah, once again, I think I just need to practice my steaks more. It's one of those things that you should be able to do well because they're a bit expensive and because you shouldn't eat a ton of them. For both of those factors, when you do, you should do it right so that you're not wasting the steak. Yeah. So, I guess that's the end of today. I've got more of everything. Oop, you guys are over there. I've gotten more of everything, And considering I had a light lunch and was quite hungry, I might end up eating all of that. All of the purees. I shouldn't eat the other half of the steak. I should save it and do something with it. And I need to practice my plating because that was a mess. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess that means we're coming down to the end. I hope you had a good time for this surprise Tuesday. I feel like I made a much larger mess this time, and if I'd made this much mess yesterday, we wouldn't have been on today because it would have been spilling over into today still. But we didn't. It was a pretty neat and tidy thing yesterday. So, expect me to be back on Friday for the normal Friday outing. I have no idea what we're gonna make. Should be something less elaborate than this or the fish. Something more. I feel like we haven't done a weird one in a while. We should do something weird. We can brainstorm that in Discord. Something weird. Let me find a raid target. We could carry the chain along and drop off on another food channel. I don't usually grab a random food channel. Let's see who I've got from my list coming up. Oh, George. You know, we haven't seen George in a while. We're going to go raid George, who is also a food channel. So, I'm not sure what George is making, but if I recall, his thing is that on Tuesday he just rummages around in his fridge and makes whatever he can out of whatever he finds. So we're going to find out when we get there what he's managed to cook up. I used to raid him more often because he goes on Tuesdays and I moved mine to Mondays. Saizan, hi. We're leaving. You're here. Thanks for showing up. Here, let me quick pop over. We made that. Pictures in the Discord later. Thank you to my mammy for the raid. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you for showing up, all of you, on this, the day of Tuesday. The day of immediately after. I just did one yesterday, which I know everyone does multiple in a row, but I don't. It's weird for me. And yeah, we're back in the saddle, I think. Things are working. We're making mistakes again. So I will see you on Friday for whatever I come up with on Friday. Bye.